what's up YouTube? It's me, Corn Pop, and this is my main diggity dog, P. Terry.
That's the name of a restaurant in town.
It's me, Deep Dish.
You record.
What are we discussing today?
That thing over
We are going to discuss the Sega Genesis Mini Classic. We want to compare the Sega Genesis Mini to the Super NES Classic. This is the Sega Genesis Mini. This is the Super Nintendo Classic. You can see they're just about the same size. They both look like the real thing.
They're both bigger than my hand.
They're both bigger than Abe's hand. They're about the size of his face. The Genesis Mini, on the other hand, it doesn't just look like the console, but it has a few extra features. It's got like a cartridge slot that opens.
Yeah, and this actually turns it on.
Yep, this power switch actually works.
And the reset button does.
And then you have this Sega CD slot, which is just a nice feature. It came with HDMI cables. It came with two, not one, but two of the original 3-button controllers.
One that you don't need.
Can you hand me the 3-button controller so we could show people the size of that beam? This thing. This is the basic size, shape, and design of the original Genesis controller. I really wish that instead of this, it came with two 6-button controllers, because the 6-button controller, in my opinion, is more comfortable and has a lot more function, because there are about 5 games on the Sega Genesis Mini that actually require a 6-button controller.
Yeah, there's some.
So having two of these is actually kind of a hassle, in my opinion. Anyway, Abe, what else did it come with? It came with a box.
Wait, just look at them. I always thought that this kind of looks like a placard if you put the Sega Genesis Mini in it.
Oh, so it goes inside there. So if ever
I never thought it came in a plastic box.
That's a cardboard box.
Cardboard, plastic, same thing.
Okay.
So it looked like this when I opened it, and we still have the boxes. So, but you see, I put it in one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the box.
This is the actual box it came in. It's nice. I mean, if you keep boxes, as far as boxes go, it's hollow. It's got a nice shine to it. It's got pictures. Ours is a little damaged. It came from Amazon, a little bit damaged, but the thing works fine. Let's talk about how the Sega Genesis Mini functions. So, when we compare it to the Super NES Classic, I mean, in terms of the build, I say that they're pretty much on par, but you might want to give a little bit of an edge to the Genesis Mini for the little cute features. But it's, to be fair, I mean, the only real advantage is this doesn't have a cartridge slot. That would have been kind of fun, but there's no real point to it. So, it's a tie. I mean, these both look good. They feel like high quality. They're neat. They're just little tiny replicas of the original.
I wouldn't say that's a tie. I would say that the Sega Genesis is definitely better.
Definitely. Do you think it really matters that you can play with the cartridge slot?
Well, it's like I like the design.
Well, I mean, the Genesis just looks better than the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, the Genesis.
So the Super Nintendo is
stupid.
awful.
Yeah,
this is an awful console design.
This looks like the coolest.
This looks like high-end stereo equipment or something. I mean, just look at how sleek the Genesis was. I mean, so yeah, from just an aesthetic point of view, the Genesis always looked better. So I guess if you want to just be true to the original design, the Genesis design plainly smashes the Super NES Classic. I like the Famicom. The Super Famicom looked cool, but the Super Nintendo in America, just I don't even know what this looks like. It kind of looks like a piece of car equipment. Like maybe it looks like a little window air conditioner. That's what it looks like, with the little grill. It's awful looking. But the Genesis, I mean, this does something cool.
Take no offense, Nintendo. Take no offense.
Yeah.
No offense. No offense.
No offense. No offense intended. We love you, Nintendo. Speaking of Nintendo and how much we love it, let's compare the games. So who do you think has a better library of games? Do you think the Sega Genesis Mini or the Super NES Classic?
Sega Genesis Mini.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually think so too. I think it's got more than twice as many games. And I think it's close. I think if you look at the Super NES Mini, there are so many top shelf, like must-have games on the Super NES Mini that it's very close. But for whatever reason, there were a lot of genres missing from the Super NES Mini that are essential that you have well represented on this thing. There are no beat 'em ups on the Super NES.
No, there is. There's actually like the best beat 'em up ever. Streets of Rage.
Yeah, but on the
Street Fighter.
On the SNES Mini, there's no beat 'em up. There was a fighting game.
Yeah, and guess what?
On here you get Street Fighter, but that's a fighting. But you also get Streets of Rage. You get Golden Axe. You get Comic Zone. You don't get any beat 'em ups on this. There's no shooters on the SNES Mini, and there's actually several excellent shooters on the Genesis Mini. And that's a huge genre for people who are into retro gaming. To have no shooters is crazy. I just shook the world. Where are we anyway? Where are we right now? Filming.
Where are we?
Just like, let's choose a background. Let's pick. Where do you want to be?
Paris.
We're in Paris. I like that. Okay, so we're in Paris now. Yeah, but this has a lot of great games. But okay, if this thing had Final Fight, even the one-player version, and it had Axelay and Chrono Trigger, I think that even with just less than 30 games, it would still be better than this. There are a lot of games on here that I would consider throwaways, like Virtual Fighter 2, not that great. Space Harrier 2, awful, just completely awful. But this thing, I mean, it covers more genres, and it has a lot of must-have classics. Just by itself, it's one of the best, easily one of the best retro libraries ever put together. You got a lot of different games on here. Just going down like making some comparisons. Both of these games have a version of Ghouls and Ghosts. This has the Super Ghouls and Ghosts. This has the original Ghouls and Ghosts, which was the sequel to Ghosts and Goblins. This Super Ghouls and Ghosts is actually the third game in the series. It's a completely different game, completely different play mechanics. It also completely sucks in my opinion. Beautiful graphics, but it's got so much slowdown that I find the game very unappealing. So he's right there. Genesis gets it. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Both have Street Fighter. Honestly, if you have the 6-button controllers, it's essentially a tie. They're slightly different versions. Both of these have a Mega Man game. This has Mega Man X. That has the Wily Wars. What do you think is better?
I think they're a tie.
I really think Mega Man X is the better
Yeah,
game.
Mega Man X, actually.
The Wily Wars, honestly, if you want to play Mega Man 1, 2, and 3, just play them on the NES. There's like so many ways you can play Mega Man 1, 2, and 3. And it's like, it's not, don't play it on the Genesis. Play that on the NES. Play it on the Switch or something, but don't play it on.
As a wise man once said, keep my Mega Man on Nintendo.
That's right. Keep my Mega Man on Nintendo. So you got both have Contra. This has Contra 3. That has Contra. This has Contra Hardcore. That has Contra 3. Which do you think is better? I like the Genesis. I like Contra Hardcore a lot more than Contra 3 for some reason, and that's completely.
Don't you think we should keep like a shot to see like
Oh, I already
who's
did.
better?
I'll tell you who's better. The charts. It's here. It's right there.
Wow.
Who's keeping score? I'm keeping score. I'm keeping score.
Are you gonna draw that?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it right there.
Okay.
It's right there. It's above your head now.
Well, turn it into
We have
a
a
hat.
score. All right.
Turn it into a hat for me.
All right. So both have oh, I lost my place. Both have Castlevania. Which is better, Castlevania 4 or Castlevania Bloodlines? Bloodlines smokes Castlevania 4. We did a whole video about that, you and me, like a year ago. You remember? We did a Console Wars parody.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't really a console wars. That was more like just playing around in costumes. And I don't think you even had a Sonic costume. I think I just had Mario costume.
I had a Sonic hat.
Yeah, you just had a Sonic hat. That was it.
That was great though. So which is better, Castlevania Bloodlines or Castlevania 4? Castlevania Bloodlines, way better. It's that blast processing. You move way quicker. It's got more colorful graphics.
Speaking of blast processing, the Sega Genesis Delivery Boy doesn't have that much blast processing.
Yeah, we waited all day for that guy.
Yeah, we waited literally all day just playing games.
Yeah, our Amazon delivery guy was really slow.
Yeah.
All right, so the best platformer probably on here is probably Sonic 2, would you say? That's kind of the mascot platformer that everybody wants. Well, how do you think Sonic 2 stacks up against Super Mario World? Which is better? Let's be real. Which is the better game, if we're just being honest? I think Super Mario World's better. I'm going to give a point to Super Mario World. Okay, what about, we got Metroidvanias. So, on this, we got Super Metroid, kind of the original Metroidvania. Not really, though, because there's a lot of games that predate Metroid when it comes to open-ended 2D side-scrolling adventure games. That's an old genre. Everybody always attributes it to Metroid. But no, and in this we got Wonder Boy in Monster World, and we got Monster World 4. So who do you think is better? Do you think Metroid wins or Monster World? Which is the better game? It's pretty close. Metroid is better. Monster World is amazing. It's beautiful, lush graphics, or cute, beautiful graphics. I don't have to say they're lush. But I can't say that very many games are as good as Super Metroid. Yeah.
Metroid's a little better. Yeah.
They both have rail shooters. This one has 2 Star Fox games. This one has Space Harrier 2. Who's better?
Definitely the Space Harrier 2 sucks.
Space Harrier 2 sucks.
Yeah, so anything versus Space Harrier 2, it's
yeah, and I mean honestly, Star Fox sucks, but Star Fox sucks way less than Space Harrier 2. They both have good RPGs. We got Final Fantasy VI is probably the best RPG on here, and this is Phantasy Star 4. Which do you think is better?
Is this? So what's on here again?
Final Fantasy VI.
Final Fantasy VI.
There's a few other RPGs on there. This has Shining Force and Phantasy Star 4, but the big RPG.
Is Final Fantasy the one that we played?
Yeah, we played it for a while. Yeah.
Final Fantasy, then Final Fantasy.
I think Phantasy Star is way better than Final Fantasy.
I don't even play Phantasy Star.
We did. Remember, I told you we played it in Charleston.
Oh yeah, Phantasy Star is the one I was thinking.
That's the one you're thinking about. Yeah,
okay,
Phantasy Star.
Okay, Phantasy Star.
That has a great storyline. That's one of the only RPGs I've played through multiple times.
And the next one,
I get bored of Final Fantasy games. I find them really tedious. But Phantasy Star 4, because of the fun characters, is good enough for me.
And the next one is
Shining Force.
The next one, this one wins.
All right. Okay. So what about Zelda clones? Does Zelda beat the Zelda clones on here? There's 3. You got Beyond Oasis. Landstalker's cute, but not very good. The other one Light Crusader is good, but not very cute. Not very cute. Landstalker is cute, but not very good.
Check out the
Light Crusader is good, but not very cute. And then Beyond Oasis is pretty good, but let's face it, nobody competes with Zelda.
Yeah.
You can't have a Zelda clone that is anywhere near Zelda. And they didn't put Crusader of Senti on there, but that game is cute, but just awful. So Zelda smashes the Zelda clone department, don't you think?
Yeah.
Totally. Point for Nintendo. Alright. So the SNES has
coins.
The SNES has Mario Kart and F-Zero. And this bad boy's got Road Rash 2. Who's better? Who's got the better racers?
So...
Yeah, I mean, Road Rash 2 is a really good game, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of hard to beat Mario Kart, isn't it?
Well, no, I think I kind of like Road Rash. Road Rash better.
Road Rash?
I've never played you mean like Mario Kart, like the first one where the coin blocks are underground?
Yeah.
Oh no, that one's bad. I hate that.
Okay, we're gonna give it to Road Rash. Road Rash. I was giving it to Nintendo, but give it to Sega. Sega gets the racer. Okay, at this point, Sega Genesis has 6 points, and the SNES has 7 points.
Wait, you actually kept track?
Yeah, I kept track of these things. I know what I'm talking about.
There's no chart on there though.
Well, I've already added it up, like in my own notes. But it's here. It's here above your head. Look, just look above you.
I don't see it.
It's gonna fall on your head now.
Ow!
All right. But there's a lot of genres unopposed. So the SNES has Super Punch Out, and there's nothing like that on here. They also have Kirby's Dream Course. There are no golf games on here. So there's 9 points. The Genesis has Toe Jam and Earl. It's got Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, the worst version of Tetris you've ever played. But the other games are good. At least Puyo Puyo. At least Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is good. We have Sonic Spinball, which is it's filth, but it's here. You don't got no pinball game on here. You don't have no pinball game on the Super Nintendo, son.
They never invented it in their timeline.
I don't even know if there is a pinball game made for the Super Nintendo.
They didn't even know about it until like 2012.
But you got yourself Sonic Spinball. And now Sonic Spinball, I don't recommend that game to my worst enemies, but it's here and it's extra. But then you got Streets of Rage 2, you've got Golden Axe, you've got Comic Zone, you got all these great beat 'em up games. You mean to tell me with all the great beat 'em ups that came out on the Super Nintendo, they couldn't put one on here? Not one beat 'em up? And then the shooters. The Genesis was always a better console for shooters, for whatever reason. But you got Thunder Force 3, you got Fantasy Zone 2, Super Fantasy Zone, sorry, and you got this great new port of Darius, which is a whole brand new game. You don't have one shooter on the Super Nintendo Mini, or Classic, or whatever the heck it's called. You don't have one. Not one. Not even Axelay. There's just no doubt in my mind that this, with its 42 games and its broader representation of genres, is the better thing. You know, it's got a cartridge port, but that doesn't mean it's as good as the Super NES Classic, because there's a couple things that we need to discuss.
Yes.
There are things that have happened. We've owned this for how many hours? Less than 24?
Like one day.
Not even one day. And there are things that have happened on this. They never happened on here. Never had any problems with this thing. I've never had glitches. I've never had any glitch once. Nothing ever weird has ever happened when I played the Super Nintendo Classic. And I had some spooky things.
Not spooky, only like one
I've
thing.
had spooky
No.
I've had it possessed by the devil. It's been possessed by the devil.
No, like, no.
Devil.
No.
The devil.
No. Because when he's at the end of the menu, he goes by and makes a
Okay,
sound.
so that's one problem.
Yeah,
So one problem sometimes. So the menu is great. They got Yuzo Koshiro came back to do this really nice menu music, and the layout, I love it. So much better than the relatively generic but totally fine Super Nintendo menu. This is great. I love that you can see the spines. You can see the spines. It's like your little game show.
I don't even know the button to press to do that.
I don't know how to do it either, but there's a button you push. I don't know. But if you do it, it's nice. But sometimes it's like finicky. It's like you'll be pushing around trying to look at a game on the menu, and it's like your little cursor goes.
Yeah, it's really slippery.
Mike Matei from Cinemassacre described it as a double input error or something like that. Now, he seemed to think that this was affecting gameplay, and I've tested this thing a bit and with the games that I was really good at, and I have not had any trouble with gameplay. But the menus are slippery.
He's not talking about...
I think when you get to the edge, it does it, right?
Yeah. And he's not talking about easy game. He's talking about the hottest game in the world, Ghouls and Ghosts.
Ghouls and Ghosts. I can play Ghouls and Ghosts like a professional gamer, and I had no problems with my little 6-button controller over there. But that's not to say that I have had no problems at all. Because do you remember what happened last night?
No.
Last night, I was playing with my 6-button controller, my official licensed 6-button controller made by whoever made them. Bring me my 6-button controller, son. Bring it to me. This is the 6-button controller. I bought it months ago when I heard this thing was coming out by Retrobit. And this thing started wigging out on me. And I must confess, emulated games in the past. That means I have downloaded ROMs and I have played them on my computer. But that's why I bought this. This was my reconciliation. I bought this to say, 1, I'm sorry. Sega, I'm sorry. And 2, I love you. Those are the 2 reasons. But then you do this to me.
2.
While I'm in the middle of playing What was I playing? I was in the middle of playing Shinobi.
Castle
I was playing Mickey's Castle of Illusion. My favorites. I was playing the game that made me buy this bad boy, Mickey's Castle of Illusion. And I decided, you know, I'm going to try that cool feature where I hit pause and bring me back to the menu. And instead of bringing me back to the menu, all I did was cause my system to be possessed by the devil. It was possessed by the devil. I tell you, it stopped working.
It froze.
Well, the control stopped working. The controller stopped registering, and it wasn't even working at all. It stopped working in the middle of the game. It didn't have a double input error, Mike Matei. It didn't just like go a little oofy on me. It stopped working altogether. Like it was broken. This thing has... I have beaten games with this. I beat Castlevania Bloodlines. I beat it with my own 2 hands. With this very controller. On a computer. On an emulator. On a ROM. I'm sorry. Once again, I bought it. I paid money. I would have paid money before. But why did you do this to me? Huh? Sega?
Say it.
Because you're possessed by the devil. That's why you did it. What is this crap? Me in the middle of my game and my controller stops working. Huh? Also, other thing. Sound input lag. Now, I am not the scientist that Joe from GameSack is. He is a true scholar and a true connoisseur of technology. I know nothing about that. To me, I hear very little to no difference between the real thing that I played very much when I was a young man of 8 years of age and this. I can't hear any differences between this and the real thing. And by the real thing, I mean the ROMs that I play on my computer. I cannot tell the difference. This sounds great to me. But the one game where I've noted audio lag input is Mickey's Castle of Illusion. When I hit jump, about a day later, I'll hear and it's really off-putting. It's like like all the other sound effects sound right. Like the apple throw sounds right, the enemy hit sounds right, but for whatever reason, the jumping sound effect is on a different page. I don't even know. I don't know.
But you're the one who made this video.
This may have a better library of games. And let's be real, if you're watching this video and you care this much, you're probably going to put 1,000 on here. You're going to rip this thing apart and you're going to download some crappy pirate software and you're going to put like 800 of games that you've never played and never will play on here. So the games thing, you probably don't care. But this thing has never given me a problem. I've never lost control of my game. The menus are not all loose and bumping all over the place. I don't hear any lag. I don't see any lag. Oh, another thing. Echo the Dolphin looks weird in this game. And I don't know if it has anything to do with those weird effects. Dithering. I don't know if it has something to do with dithering effects, but Echo the Dolphin just looks funky. It doesn't look right.
Funky?
I know Echo the Dolphin. It's one of these games I played a ton on the Genesis. I played a ton on my computer. But when I played on here, it looks funny. It doesn't look right. It's some kind of dithering thing. It has to be. It's just the water effects or something. It doesn't look right. It looks very pixelated to me. I don't really recommend you play Echo the Dolphin ever. It's not that good.
I do.
He likes it because you know why he likes it? He likes it for the same reason everybody liked Echo the Dolphin. They've only played the first level. They've never gotten beyond. They don't know what's coming. Let me tell you, that game is possessed by the devil! It is possessed by the devil!
I knew that he was going to do it again. I knew that.
It is though. Echo the Dolphin is possessed by the devil. It is. So anyway, I guess so when it comes to the design and the look, the Genesis wins. When it comes to the library of games, the Genesis wins. When it comes to the loving details and the beautiful menus, Genesis wins. Yuzo Koshiro doing the music. The fact that you can play the Japanese versions of all these games or the European version simply by changing the language and the menu screen, amazing. But the fact that this thing doesn't have any of the kind of game-ending flaws that I've experienced in one day with this thing kind of makes me hate it a little. I hate it the same way that I hate the devil. This is the winner because it's quality from Nintendo. This thing is like a solid brick that never fails me.
This is a brick too.
And I love this brick.
Brick.
I'm happy to have this brick.
Me too.
But it hasn't obeyed my every command. It slips around. It messes up the sound effects in Mickey Mouse. It's not perfect. It could have been perfect. It should have been perfect. I would have waited another 6 months to have this thing be perfect.
Wait, Dad, that's not perfect either. Remember those games?
Why isn't it perfect? What games?
Those games that you wanted.
Oh yeah, I mean there's games that are missing from here.
Tie.
But there's games that really should have been on here too. I mean I don't want to open that can of worms. I already have a whole another video about that.
Guys, I know that I never say this, but it's a tie.
It's a tie. Okay. Well, I want Claire to say a few words with you about the game. I personally think that the Super NES Classic, given the weird problems I've had with this, is better. Just by a hair. They're both great. If you don't have one of these, it's maybe worth the money. Maybe I have a bad one. I mean, look at our box. It's damaged. Maybe the guy who delivered it was not just late, but he was kicking it around town. Just kicking it on the floor. He just kicked it like Ace Ventura. Just kicked our package all up and down the street. And that's why we got it like several hours later than when we anticipated it. And it came in such a bad condition. He was just punching the box over and over again. Because it was possessed by the devil.
So I gotta admit, I wasn't expecting it to look like a cardboard box.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna come. I thought it was gonna look like a black cave, you know.
But then we luckily realized that this is what it actually looks like.
I accidentally put it in white.
So the Sega Genesis Mini is it's a really nice mini console. It's definitely better than the NES Mini, the first one, but it's way better than the first one from Nintendo. They were the fathers. They made that. They invented it. Nintendo did.
This is it. The Sega Genesis Mini. A black box. Has a lot of games. You can see the games right here.
Alright, here. Wait, we can't do that.
Wait, where are we? Okay,
see
same place. Where are we? Where are we?
Maybe it will work if we paint this top green.
Hey, where are you guys? You want to change your location?
Where are you?
We're in China.
China. Okay, we're in China.
We're in Chinatown. We're not in China. We're in Chinatown in LA. Chinatown.
In LA. Okay. I picked Paris. If you didn't listen.
I picked Chinatown.
Okay.
Okay,
Anyway.
back on subject.
Subject? Can someone tell me?
What are we supposed to be talking about?
I don't know.
The devil!
The devil! We're possessed by the devil!
Okay, Sega Genesis Mini has... I kind of like the controllers. Even though they're 3-button, I feel like they're kind of easier. Sure, they're not easier to hold.
This one, I think.
No,
that one. This one she's talking about. The one that's possessed by the devil. Because this one was with the Sega Genesis Mini, so it's possessed by the devil.
But one of the flaws that came with is, I don't know if when the Sega Genesis was originally, when it came out, like in something.
1989.
In 1989, that it had the start button all the way over here. Like, why is it there?
It was created, it's a children's toy created for man's hands. I don't know why, the controller is huge.
And why is it in the middle? That would be so much easier. Hey, I need your help. Stop talking about it.
In your hand?
I'm saying
In
something.
your hand? Yeah, have a hand.
What is your favorite games that they added to the Sega Genesis Mini that you think are really worth playing? Claire, because you have a lot more experience with
I really like Shinobi 3.
Yeah.
Snoopy, of course you do.
Shinobi's great, huh?
Ninja Turtles, I don't even think that's a Sega game, but Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
Try Ninja Turtles.
There's no Ninja Turtles.
But try Ninja Turtles
It's
on
a
a
major
different
flaw. There's no Ninja
Try Ninja
Turtles.
Turtles on a different platform then. Just try Ninja Turtles.
And it's like when I got this thing, I already know almost all the games in the library. But I think if you don't know anything about Sega, you'll still like it.
Yeah. And if you don't know anything about Crash, he has toothpaste on the tin.
What?
A little
It's
bit,
two, yeah.
What is your favorite game that you've played so far? So you like Shinobi 3 the best. What about the Monster World games?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
think those are
Monster
really-
World 4. I got
You played a lot of
pretty
that.
far of that. Yeah, I kind of a little bit of. I feel like I beat the game even though I'm not even close. It's pretty long actually.
Here, I'm gonna do a little association with you guys. So you guys, I'm gonna tell you a game that you've seen on here. You've seen all the games on here.
Yep.
I want you guys to tell me what you think real quick. Alex Kidd,
I haven't got to play that yet.
all right. Alicia Dragoon,
I haven't got to play that yet.
Altered Beast.
I haven't got to play that
You
yet.
played all these games in
I
the
played
past,
all
though.
I never played Alicia Dragoon.
Okay. Beyond Oasis.
Great.
I haven't played it ever.
I've played
Oh,
it.
come on.
It's great.
Castlevania Bloodlines.
Great. Yes.
Comic Zone.
Yes. Bravo. Bravo. Bravo.
Contra.
Bravo. Bravo. Bravo.
Eternal Champions.
Yeah.
That game's laugh out loud bad. That game's like a bad movie though. It's funny. That game's funny. Golden Axe.
Yay!
Golden
Bravo!
Ghost.
Bravo!
Gunstar Hero. You love that game. Landstalker. Mega Man The Wily Wars.
No, Wild Wars is
I've never played it.
No, it's
before.
on the
Monster
3DS.
World.
It's the one on the 3DS.
Monster.
No, it's I have Bakeman 2 from the NES.
Monster World 4.
Yay!
Fantasy Star 4.
Yay!
No.
Yay!
Dr. Robotnik's Coffee Bean Machine.
No.
Well,
No.
it's pretty
Nope.
good. It's not the best port.
Shinobi
It's
3.
Yay!
Sonic Spinball.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, let's be real. Sonic games are
Yeah,
Sonic 2.
Yay!
Space Harrier 2.
No.
No.
Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition.
Yay!
Streets of Rage 2. Strider.
Yay!
Super Fantasy Zone.
What's that?
It's great. It's really hard. But
Okay.
it's fun. Thunder Force 3.
What's that?
That's the shooter I was playing.
Yeah!
Toe Jam and Earl. I like that game. I don't think Claire likes it, but I really like it.
Great.
It's an acquired taste, but I love it.
No.
Great.
Vector Man.
Yay!
Virtual Fighter 2.
Yay!
No, Virtual Fighter 2.
Virtual Fighters, remember the stupid one?
Yay! Okay. I used to be Claire, but that's speed me up.
Okay. Wonder Boy in Monster World.
Yeah!
Even I got almost beat that game. And World of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse.
Wonderful? No, we almost beat Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Okay, World of Illusion. Also Mickey's Castle of Illusion.
Yay!
Echo the
Wow.
Dolphin.
Yay!
Darius.
Yay!
Yes, Darius.
That game's really good. Tetris.
Oh, yeah.
Had
Well,
fun.
I like kiss. Hey guys, stop.
So it's time for a serious talk.
So Tetris,
Claire, just
I'm
Claire.
not saying I hate Tetris. I actually played a lot of different kinds of Tetris on many different platforms in my life. But Tetris on the Genesis is really bad. It's the worst port of Tetris ever.
Terrible.
It's worse than Tetris 2 and NES.
Huge.
Yeah, it is the worst version of Tetris I think ever. I don't think it's worth.
Let me tell you, I'm good at Tetris. I'm really good at Tetris. So there you go.
Yeah, you are. She's really good at Tetris.
She even
bags our groceries at the store.
Like
Like Tetris.
Alright,
She bagged her Tetris.
Alright guys, well, I think it's time to wrap this video up. What do you guys, overall, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being bad, don't buy it, 5 being you absolutely have to have one in your home, what do you guys give the Sega Genesis Mini Classic Turbo Edition?
5.
Well, actually, this depends. This depends. So if you are a collector and want to get this without it selling out right away, that's a 5. But if you want it for your kids to play, it's probably a 4. It's not exactly like a must-own, but it is really good.
Okay, Abe, what do you give it?
It's a 5.
It's a 5. I give the same score as Claire.
dude,
I give it a solid 4. I think it's really good.
Goodbye.
But it's definitely not a must-have.
Okay, guys, I have to go now. Okay, I have to go. Goodbye. I have to beat the Vitamin Wuta if you excuse me.
And I have to, wait a second, what do I have to do?
And I have to go to the bathroom.
He's going to the bathroom.
I have to lay down.
Can you see my shadow?
No.
Oh.
It's over. Bye.
Good night,
Goodbye.
everybody. Good night, everybody.
Wait, pop out again and go goodbye.